Today I'd like to show you a watch from Rolex that is not hyped, it is not in hot demand, and it is a stainless steel model, a dive watch from the professional line, which if you look on the pre-owned market or the secondary market, you can find mint pre-owned examples for a little bit under the retail price, which is uncommon in this day, which honestly, it's kind of hard to get a two-tone date just from an authorized dealer at retail price these days. And so again, it's kind of a rarity and it's an interesting model, but it's overlooked. And I want to ask you guys, is it overlooked for a good reason? Or is this one of those nice kept secrets from the professional line, from the Rolex family? I think anybody who wants to buy a Deepsea, you have to have the wrist to pull it off. You have to have the frame to pull it off. And I would recommend this not as a daily driver. It's a little bit cumbersome to wear. I have it here on a rubber B strap, which takes the weight down a little bit, makes it a little bit more manageable, but check it out. It is a tall, chunky, beefy, almost comical looking dive watch that carries a ridiculous amount of water resistance. We have almost 13,000 feet. We have 3,900 meters of water resistance. We have a special case, which is comprised of multiple components that needs Rolex specific tools in order to assemble and disassemble and test the water resistance of each watch. So again, it's a different piece. And I wonder, is this not popular, especially in comparison to other Rolex classic models and professional models? Is it not popular because it's so different and so big and so chunky and so overbuilt? Is it overlooked for good reason? Or is this one of those stealthy, cool models that in the coming years, people will be kicking themselves because they could have got, pre-owned a little bit under retail price and could have added to the rotation before an official discontinuation? Are we in that type of situation or market? I'd be interested to hear your opinions. I'm going to share my opinions of this model here in the video. And it's no secret, I enjoy Rolex. I don't enjoy every model. This is not a model that I think I am personally interested in buying like most people. I'm not trying to trophy hunt, but man, the James Cameron dial is beautiful. That transitional dial, the bright lime green text found on the dial. There's something about that one that's just, I don't know, I think it's special. I have a few watch enthusiast friends that own that particular variation, and I have had the opportunity to, try it on, take a few pictures, put it next to my Hulk, which in doing so, it becomes apparent just how big the Deepsea is and just how hefty it is and almost comical looking. The Submariner, in my opinion, is one of the most comfortable and practical and thin, elegant, dressy tool divers from Switzerland. You really forget that you are wearing it some days. It's that comfortable. But the Deepsea, there's no way that you will forget that you're wearing this chunk of a watch on your wrist. You can't forget. And yes, you might have to hit it against a door frame or a desk a few times before you realize that, man, I am wearing something that is nearly 18 millimeters in overall height. I mean, it's that big and overbuilt. But here's the thing. I don't want to make it sound like it's the pariah of the Rolex family, because it has some interesting elements. It has some uncommon elements. And it is surprisingly fun to wear. Again, I wouldn't recommend this for use as an everyday driver, but occasionally, maybe once a week, once every 2 weeks, this could be a very fun watch to wear in rotation. And let's talk about some of those things that are unique to the Deepsea from the Sea Dweller family. So if we take a look at this massive side, the 9 o'clock side of the case, you guys can see a helium release valve. That's nice. That's found on the Sea Dweller and it's found on the Deepsea. If we take a look at the bezel insert, which is ceramic, carries a little bit of platinum in those indexing. The indexing is done for every graduation, which again is only found on the Sea Dweller and the Deepsea. We have excellent tactile action when it comes to the bezel, the grip, the feel. I think, and this is personal preference, I think Rolex does the best bezel action out of any brand in the business. Panerai is really good, Tudor is really good, but none of them quite come as close, I think, in satisfaction to what Rolex does. So that's nice to see. But let's take a look at this crystal. When it comes to Rolex, generally you get a flat sapphire crystal. If you have a date variation of the model that you purchased, it will generally always have a cyclops. This does not have a cyclops, and it's not flat, it's domed. So if you angle it, you get these distortions from oblique angles, and that's fun to see. I mean, that's not uncommon for other brands, but in terms of Rolex, that is pretty uncommon. And then let's turn the watch over and take a look at two items. If we look at the case back, we still have a fairly sterile case back, but now there's some text written around the circumference, which is only found in a couple models. It's not very common. If we compare this to my Submariner or my Sky Dweller, you guys can see very sterile case backs. This has a little bit something extra, which, you know, again, when you compare it to a different brand, that's commonplace. With Rolex, it's not commonplace. And then lastly, let's take a look at the clasp. This is a very ingenious, very well engineered and executed clasp. I prefer it to the glide lock system that's found in my Submariner. And I'm a fan of the glide lock in the Sub. It's very easy to use, but you have to take the watch off in order to make the micro adjustment position changes. With this Deepsea, you open the flip lock and you can make the changes while the watch is on wrist. You lift up this center portion, it's hinged, it's hidden, and then you can slide the glide lock in or out depending on what position you're looking for, and then lock it down by pushing down on the center portion and then engaging the flip lock. That is really ingenious. I like to see that. And again, you're only going to find it on the Deepsea. So a few things that are different about the Deepsea compared to other models, especially when you compare it to a watch like the Submariner. Now I'm going to hold this next to a couple models just so you guys can see the difference in size with some pretty common models. So here it is with the Sub. We've looked at this. Here it is with the Sky Dweller, which is a large watch from Rolex, 42 millimeters, and it has a larger dial. And you guys can see the Deepsea even makes the Sky Dweller look a little bit small. And then let's take a look next to the Black Bay chronograph from Tudor. You guys can see visually this also looks bigger than that fairly substantial chronograph. And then I'll show it next to a couple other watches just for fun from other brands. Here is the very popular SKX case in my SRPH 19K1, which almost looks a little dainty next to this Deepsea. And then lastly, here it is next to a refined Cartier Tank Solo XL. So this is 31 millimeters, but it's the big watch. It's the largest tank, and it comes on this non-tapering bracelet, so it wears dominantly. And you guys can see the tank actually doesn't look that small in comparison to this Deepsea, which is kind of fun to take a look at. I'd like to thank my friend Chris, who I'm borrowing this watch from here in Utah. He's a really nice guy. He's really generous with his watches and time with me. So thank you, Chris. Chris was gifted this watch by his mother-in-law. She wanted to get him a watch that he could take kayaking. And I don't think Chris has actually taken this kayaking because it's so substantive. I think he probably takes a G-Shock or something similar. But you definitely could take this kayaking, and I think it's a really generous gift from a family member. So Chris, excellent watch. Thank you for letting me some time with it. And guys, thank you for watching today. Please reach out with any questions you may have, and I look forward to reading your comments in the comment section. Have a great day. I'll see you next time.